What are you doing? Crazy cat. Hey guys, so to get started, we have to put our ears on. So I'm gonna do that first to keep my hair out the way. Okay, so to start off for contouring and highlighting, what you want to do is we want to start with your base. So I had already gone and washed my face and I already moisturized and all that stuff. And usually when I'm starting to do my base, my foundations, my primers, I like to let my moisturizer sit on my face for at least 5 to 10 minutes. That way, kind of like your skin really absorbs your moisturizer and it won't slide all around when you're putting your foundations or anything on. Just personal preference, you don't have to do that. That is so not ladylike. Personal preference, you don't have to do that. I just personally like to. I think it gives it a nice finish if you wait a few minutes, if you have the time. So anyway, let's start. So to start off your base, after I'd already washed and moisturized and all that stuff, I want to start priming. So because it's been a little while, I do like to hydrate, and I hydrate with my MAC Fix Plus. I'm just going to spray this all over my face. Okay, and that's just to give a little bit of hydration. I don't have any makeup on my face except for my brows. I did do my eyebrows. I'm going to go in with my Benefit Porefessional, and I'm going to put that mostly in my T-zone, which includes my nose. So my T-zone, because that's where I have the most pores. However, I have to give a shout out to Muddy Body. I recently got their Detox Clay Mask. I'll show you. It looks like this, and it's like a powder, so you can mix it with water or you can mix it with a little bit of lemon. You can squeeze some lemon because lemon helps your skin, believe it or not. And there's a lot of different things you can mix it with, but I mix it with a little bit of lemon and some water, bottled water, not tap water, because I'm weird about tap water. And I left this on my skin, and let me tell you, it really helped my pores. I've used it twice so far, and I like it. And so, I mean, I've only heard great things about it, so I'm assuming it's really, really good. It's helping me. And then I also want to give another shout out to my Aunt Rose, who gave me this adorable Clarisonic face brush. Look how cute this is. She had this laying in her house. She had given me one her old one, and we cleaned it up, but then it wouldn't charge, and then she remembered she had this. I didn't really want to take it from her because I felt bad because these are not cheap at all, but she really wanted me to take it, so thank you so much, Aunt Rose. I love it. I have used it, and my skin felt amazing afterwards, so I can't wait to see how my skin is after I've been using it for a while. So anyway, even though my pores have diminished, I'm still going to go in with the Benefit Porefessional. The cheaper alternative to the Benefit Porefessional is the NYX Pore Filler. This is also a really good option as well. But today I'm going to use the Porefessional because it's my fave. And I'm just applying that. Oh, hello Pierre. He likes to hang out with me in my room. He's been mad at me because my bed's been such a mess. Because I'm sitting on my chair. Does anybody else have the chair where just like your laundry builds and builds? Your clean laundry, not your dirty laundry. Dirty laundry is meant for a hamster. Oh my god, a hamper. Dirty laundry is meant for a hamper. But my clean laundry just builds and builds and builds on this chair. So it was on my bed for the longest time and he couldn't come up here and lay down, but I cleaned my room yesterday. So once that's in, I'm also going to go in with the Stila One Step Corrector because I do have some breakouts and some redness on my face, and I'm also trying to get rid of this thing. I don't know where it came from, but it needs to go back. I get a lot of stress pimples, and those are the ones that are usually up here. I'm like tapping my forehead because I can't find it. Usually the ones that are over here, but I have two. I have this one here. This is my beauty mark. I have this one here, but then I have this giant one, and it's so painful. And it's weird looking. I don't like it. I don't like when my face breaks out. So I'm just taking a little tiny bit, and I'm just going to rub that in all over my skin. And this is extra. You don't have to do this step. I'm just doing it because I have some redness. If you had redness, I know NYX and also Maybelline and L'Oreal make different primers, and green primers, if you have redness on your skin, are made to help. Green is made to help redness. So if you have redness on your cheeks or on your chin or anything like that, you want to get like a green primer, which should help. This has green, purple, and orange. Orange, well, red, I guess. That orangey red is for dark circles. The green is to cancel out redness in your skin. And the purple is to just brighten up your skin. So I got this for the Ulta 21 Days of Beauty. It was half off, and so far I like it. So after all of that, I'm going to go in with another primer, but this is my favorite. I always have to use it. It's the Smashbox Photo Finish Primer Water. I know yesterday... Yesterday when I was at Walmart, I noticed that Hard Candy has a mister, like a spray as well, and I believe you can use it beforehand, like that Smashbox Photo Finish Primer Water. I really want to try that eventually, and when I do, I will definitely update you guys, but I'm thinking that's a pretty good alternative. Hard Candy is a really good brand. It's in most Walmarts, if not all Walmarts. Okay. So now that my skin is nice and primed and hydrated, I'm going to go in with my Rimmel Stay Matte Foundation. I am in the color Light Ivory. It's 091. This, I've heard through the grapevine that it's supposed to be a dupe, not an exact dupe, but a dupe for the Amazonian Clay, the Tarte Amazonian Clay Foundation, which is $39. I really want to try that foundation, but I don't have $39. So since I heard this was a dupe, this was like $4.97, I decided to try this, and if I really like this, maybe the next time I get an Ulta gift card or I get a Sephora gift card or something, I'll splurge and I'll buy that Tarte Amazonian Clay. But for now, we are going to use this, and this is also supposed to be pretty full coverage, and since I have this little baby, and I'm going to go in with my damp sponge, now that I look like one of those cartoons, and I'm just going to blend this all out. And the reason why I'm using a matte foundation is because the oil in my skin decided to come back. I was dry, like really dry for about a week or so, and I'm thinking it has to do with what am I trying to say? The weather in my area. It really dried out my skin. So, but now it's better. Okay, so after you put your foundation on, what I like to do is I like to start highlighting. So I'll highlight the high points of my face and I'll also conceal at the same time. I'm going to go through cream contouring and as well as powder contouring with you guys. I figured I could kill two birds with one stone. So I'm going to do the highlighting portion first, and if you want to highlight and conceal at the same time, oh my gosh, this little thing is so annoying. Hopefully it stays in there this time. So if you want to conceal and highlight at the same time, you want to use a concealer that is at least 2 shades lighter than your skin. If you're really pale, you can just use like a really light concealer. But so what I mean by that is I'm going to be using this Hard Candy concealer, and then if I didn't want to highlight my face and I just wanted to conceal, so I would use a concealer that was almost the same shade or 1 shade lighter than my skin tone. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So, as you can see, these two over here are the Hard Candy Glamoflauge concealer, so you can see they are very light. And this swatch right here is the Tarte Creaseless Concealer. So you can see that's a little darker than the Glamoflauge concealer. Because I want to highlight and conceal at the same time, I'm going to use the Glamoflauge because it's a lot lighter than the Tarte. Alright, so in the way I do this is I just put a little bit on the back of my hand, and this Glamoflauge Hard Candy Concealer, it's really cheap. I think I got it for like $1.99, but it's thick. So I always forget that it's really thick and I put a little too much on. So since I'm concealing, I'm going to make a V underneath my eyes. I'm going to make put a little bit of like lines right in between on my forehead, in between my brows, down the center of my nose, and on my chin. this is, and I kind of put a little bit on my lids just to get rid of any redness or veins. I was sitting here for a little bit because my camera shut off, so I had to fix it. So I am going to just spritz my face a tiny bit with the Fix Plus. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to blend all of this out with my damp sponge. And when you're cream contouring, you always want to do the highlight first, because if you did the contour part first and then the highlight, your highlight's not going to be as light, obviously, because you're doing a dark color. Alright, so I'm going to bake. If you didn't want to bake, you could just set your face with the face powder. I'm going to bake, so you want to use a loose, usually a translucent powder. The powder I'm going to use today is the Airspun Translucent Extra Coverage powder. This powder can be bought at Walmart, and it's like $5.97, or like, you know how Walmart has like $5.98 or something like that. I think it's one of those things, but it's like it's in the fives, $5. And I really like this powder. It's very nice. It has a good smell to it. Kind of smells like your grandma's house, but it's a sweet smell. It's a nice smell. It's not like, ugh, oh my god. It's nice. And it's pretty big. I mean, look at it. It's a decent size, and to be honest, I'm starting to like it a little bit better than my Laura Mercier. Now, this is a really good powder as well, but it retails for, I want to say somewhere in like the 30s, like $30. And I am on a budget, so I think I'm going to be using this a lot more because it's easier, and it's more accessible, and it's more accessible. It's more accessible to a lot of people. So I highly suggest this if you're on a budget, if you're a college kid like me, or, you know, just if you don't feel like spending the $36 or however much this is. I highly suggest this Airspun powder. They also have like a natural color and a honey beige, I want to say, but the translucent is my favorite because this is also a translucent powder. And just comparing them, the Airspun is a lot bigger. This is a little taller, but this is 2.3 ounces, and this is only 1 ounce. So you're already getting a ton more. So I highly suggest this. And the way you want to do with baking is you want to take a damp, not a damp. You want to take a dry beauty blender or a sponge. If you get like a damp one, it kind of like packs it on your face, and then it sticks together, and it doesn't go on there really nicely, and it can become a little cakey. This, by doing it with a dry, it doesn't have that extra element to it with the wetness. So I'm just going to take the butt of my sponge here, and I'm just going to add a good amount of product underneath where I highlighted with my concealer. And I had no idea why they call it baking until I watched Jaclyn Hill's video. And she said that it had something to do with the way that the moisture gets locked in between your skin and this powder, like your skin can't breathe. So it essentially bakes your makeup because of the natural body temperature of a human, which is like 98 degrees, which is so funny because now that I'm in veterinary medicine, whenever I hear 98, I'm like, oh my god, that's really low. The animal's probably sick, or you're probably sick, because like the normal temperature for a dog and a cat is in the hundreds, like 100 to like 102. And so I went to the doctor, and she's like, oh, okay, your temperature is like 98. And I was like, oh my god, that's low. And she goes, what? I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm used to dealing with animals. I don't deal with humans. And I just like to put it on my lids too, because I put concealer there. I'm just gonna, okay. It does get everywhere, as you can see. It is a loose powder, but I'm fine with it. And the smell of this, like I said, it's like a nice smell, and it makes your face smell for a little bit. So it's nice. It's nice. Okay, so now that we have that, I'm going to go in with the cream contouring. And my favorite to cream contour is the NYX Wonder Stick. I'm going to use, I usually just use like the contour side. I don't usually use the highlighting side, but this is what it looks like. You can get this at Ulta or anywhere they sell NYX. I know CVS's are starting to sell NYX a lot more. So what I do with the cream contour is I would go in, so we'll start on this side, and I start back here at like my hairline right here, and I bring it down to a straight line. You don't want to go any further down than like where your eye, some people say where the middle of your eye is, but I kind of think it's a little too low. I would say like here in the corner of your eye. I wouldn't go any farther than that, just because you start to look muddy. So I'm going to go not even that far. I'm just going to take it here. And if you don't know like where your cheekbones lie or anything, you can always suck in your cheek. So you can go like this and just follow that right there. There, and then you want to put some up here for your nose as well. I don't usually contour my nose, but then I do. That's how I do it. I always do a little bit under the lip, and then you want to do your jawline, and I kind of like to do a V to make my chin a little smaller as well. Okay, so that's the cream contour areas. So now I'm just going to go in and I'm going to blend it out using my damp sponge. And sometimes if the damp sponge doesn't work, I'll go in with a foundation brush and I'll buff it out that way. But you always want to blend upwards. You don't want to blend down because then it's going to defeat the purpose of a contour. So you want to always blend up. So you can use, like, I know some people like to use, you can go out and buy like a darker concealer shade. You can go out and buy like a darker foundation and use it as like a cream contour. I know Anastasia has their cream contour kits, which I do not have. I have not used those yet. Maybe one day I will buy the contour kit because I would like to use it, but I like cream contouring in like the spring and the summer because it looks a lot more natural. And if when you're blending you like move that powder around, it's fine. It's not a big deal. You can see how it's very subtle, but it's still a contour, but it's nice and natural looking. This kind of dried up a little bit, so I'll have to go in with my foundation brush. So because you're working with creams, whenever you're working with a cream, you always want to set it with a powder just to keep it from creasing. So what you can do, if you just wanted to leave it very subtle and very natural looking like this, you can just set it. If you wanted to keep it nice and subtle and natural like this, you could just set it with a normal face powder. That's this, you know, your normal face powder. My favorite right now is the MAC Mineralized Skin Finish. That's what I'm using. But again, if you're on a budget, the Rimmel Stay Matte is good for me because I have oily skin. I know they have a normal powder. It's not a matte powder, which would probably be better if you're a little dry. These are real. This is my favorite drugstore powder, so I highly recommend that as well. Maybelline the Fit Me ones are good as well, but I like the Rimmel a little bit better than the Maybelline. And you could just set that with a powder, put a little setting spray on, which, by the way, I know I use the Urban Decay one, but L'Oreal sells a setting spray as well, and you can find that in Walmart. I didn't know that. And then there's also another brand called Flower or something like that that's in Walmart, and they also have like setting sprays and stuff too. So there are a lot of different options. You just gotta like look. I looked. I was really looking yesterday when I went because I was looking for this Airspun powder because I did just buy it yesterday, but I've used it twice and I'm in love with it. So that's what I was looking for because it was only $5 and I didn't want to use like my Laura Mercier one every time I baked because it's expensive and I can't like buy it all the time. So I was really looking, I was like, oh my god, all these awesome products, like all these drugstore brands have a lot of products, like products I didn't even know they had. I had no idea L'Oreal had a setting spray. I had no idea Hard Candy had a setting spray. I had a mister in the beginning, and then this Flower brand. So I highly suggest those brands too if you're on a budget but you want setting sprays and stuff. So like I said, you could just leave it like this. You could wipe away the bakage on your face. Set your face. You could add a little bit like of a highlight. I'm going to show you the cream highlight in a minute. But since I'm going to show you how I powder contour, I'm going to go over this contour with a powder. A favorite bronzer is Hoola by Benefit. It's a really nice bronzer. I don't currently have a favorite drugstore bronzer. I did have the Dream Powder by Maybelline, and it's okay. It's just a little warm for my skin. I'm sure there are really good bronzers out there. I actually have heard that the NYC bronzer, the like sun bronzer, is really, really good. I just have never tried it. So I don't want to like say something to you guys that I've never tried or suggest something that I've never tried because I'm not sure, but I've heard good things about the NYC. And I mean, it's only probably like $1, so even if it kind of sucked for you, it would only be $1 loss. But still, $1 is $1. Every dollar counts. Also, I know that Milani has some good bronzers. I do have this Tantastic Face and Body Baked bronzer, and I do like to use this in the summer because it has a shimmer to it. But if you didn't want like your whole face to be glittery, then you wouldn't want to use this. I also use this for a highlighter too, so this is a good like drugstore highlighter. I know that the Wet n Wild just came out with highlighters, and I personally have never used them, but I know all the beauty gurus that I follow on Instagram and all that stuff, they rave about them, and it's every single one. I haven't heard a bad review about those Wet n Wild highlighters, so if you can get your hands on those, I am going to suggest them to you because everybody that I've watched on YouTube loves them. So those are good options for highlighters. But to contour, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to make the contour line first. That way I can blend it out. I'm just going to take the little brush that came with the Hoola Bronzer, and it just comes in the bronzer if you decide to splurge and buy this bronzer. Really nice for the summertime. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a line kind of the same way I did with the cream contour. So I'm going to go here, and I always tap back near my ear just to deposit most of the color, because where you put your brush is where you're depositing most of that color. So I'm just going to tap here and then bring it down. Okay, and as you can see, it made a line. And if you wanted to, you could always flip it this way after you make that line and blend it out, but I'm going to go in with a different brush and do that. So I'm just going to do that same thing on the other side. Always tap off the excess. Okay. And then I'm going to do a little bit up here. I'm really big on like contouring my forehead, but I do it sometimes. And then you just want to get, I always take like the side of the brush and I'll go over that powder, that contour that I did on my nose. And it always looks a little harsh, more harsh than I'd like. So I'll go in and I'll blend that out. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my favorite bronzing brush at the moment, and I don't even know, to be honest, if this is technically used for bronzing. I haven't looked it up. For Christmas last year, my father-in-law bought me this whole Morphe like expert brush pack, and this was one of the brushes in there. This is the Morphe M106 brush, and I really, really like it for bronzing. It's nice and fluffy, but it's not too fluffy like a powder brush, which is my Real Techniques powder brush. So it's a little bit more compact than that. For contouring, if you didn't have that brush, you could use a brush like this. This is also a good contour brush. This is the Morphe M105. Also came in that same pack, and this is a little bit smaller. As you can see, this one is a little bit smaller than this one. So you can kind of make like a really nice line with that. Also, you can use a blush brush if you didn't want to use them for blush. These make good contouring brushes too, and you could just kind of use like the little tapered part, the little angled part, and use it to make your contour line as well. And this is the Morphe M104. But I'm going to go in with the 106. I'm just going to tap a little bit into that Hoola bronzer, and then I'm going to tap off the excess, and I'm just going to blend out this line here. Again, tapping the area closest to my hairline, so most of the color gets deposited back there, because you don't want most of the color to get deposited up here, and you want to make light circular motions upward. You don't want to blend downward, because again, the same thing with the cream contouring, it defeats the purpose. So you want to blend upward, and I'm very light-handed. I'm not really pressing too hard. That way it can be nice and a nice little diffused bronze here. And then I'm just going to go over all the other places that I did put that cream contour as well. Another trick you can do as well is you can take your face powder and your powder brush, and it also helps blend out the contour a little more, because when you're bronzing and stuff, it's very easy and very fast to look muddy and use too much product. So I always suggest going back in with your face powder and kind of just going over those contour lines, because this also helps blend as well, and it makes things a little less harsh. And we like a little less harsh. And you also want to take this powder over the rest of your face as well to set the rest of your foundation. And I also like to take it underneath the contour. That way you can kind of sharpen it up. And I will show you how people like to bake underneath their contour as well to give it a really nice sharp line. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bake underneath. Usually what I'll do is I will bake my under eyes and where I concealed earlier while I'm contouring, and then while I'm doing my eye makeup, I will bake underneath my contour line. So that's how that kind of works. You want to at least leave it on maybe like 2 to 5 minutes minimum. You can leave it on as long as you'd like. There's really no time limit on how long you can leave it, but just make sure you wipe it off because you don't want to be walking outside with this powder all over your face. So now what I'm going to do is we're going to go into highlighting the cheekbones. So what I want to do now is I want to wipe away the powder underneath my eyes. So that just gives it like a nice finish, and it's really, really pretty. And like I know I've said you always want to do yours before your powders. However, when it comes to cream highlighting, you could do this when you're contouring, but because we had the powder on there to bake, I didn't, so I'm just going to do it now. So I'm taking the Benefit Watts Up, and this is a really good cream highlight. I haven't found, I know L'Oreal makes like a cream highlighter, and so does NYX, but again, I've never really used them, so I don't want to say if they're good or not because I've never personally used them. I hope to in the future sometime, but I haven't. So this gives like a nice little glow, and I like to keep this on the tops of my cheekbones. I also like to put highlight on my cheek too. So then you want to go over that with a highlighter, and like I said, the Milani Face and Body Baked Bronzer is a really good highlighter. You can use that. I know ColourPop has some good highlighters that are pretty cheap, although that's an online store. I am going to use my Champagne Pop by Becca and Jaclyn Hill, and I really love this. I really want to get her new collaboration with Becca, with the new highlighter Prosecco Pop, I believe it's called, and she has like this whole line. I would love to get that little like Prosecco Pop kit thing, but again, I can't, but I would love to get my hands on it. And then you can put this also on your cupid's bow. Kind of do some up above your brows too if you really want to glow, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with glowing. And then what you want to do is you want to go in with blush. There are cream blushes. I have a few of the Maybelline ones, which I like. I really stick usually to powder blushes. Today I'm going to use the Tarte blush, and this is in the color Deserving, and it's a really pretty color. But you all know, if you're looking for a cheaper alternative, Luminoso by Milani is my favorite, and you can buy this in any drugstore. And I'm going to take my blush brush by Morphe, which is the M104, and I'm just going to dab this in there. Always tap off the excess, and then you want to put this between the bronzer and between the highlight and kind of blend those two together. And when I'm doing blush, I never start on the apples of my cheeks. I always start back here and kind of bring it forward. Because again, wherever you're putting your brush for the first time is where most of the color is going to be deposited, and you don't want a crazy amount of blush on the apples of your cheeks. And I always go back in with my face powder and do the same thing. I kind of just blend out the blush and the highlight together with a little bit of face powder and just make it a little bit more natural looking. Blend out that nose contour a little bit. And then, once you're done that, you can wipe away the powder underneath your contour here. So once you're done and you wipe away that powder, then you are done highlighting and contouring your face. You just want to go in and you want to set that, because you use powder to set your cream. If you just did cream, then you want to set that with a powder, a face powder and spray. But since I did cream and then I did powder highlighting and powder contouring and stuff, I definitely want to go in and I want to set that. So I'm just going to go in with my Urban Decay All Nighter. So I'm going to zoom you guys in. So, this is how I highlight and contour. The only other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to throw some mascara on because I'm not doing any other makeup today. So let me just do that. Okay guys, and that's how I highlight and contour. I hope this video taught you guys some few things, and I hope that you guys can go on and try it for yourself if you'd really like. If you like this video, please don't forget to like down below and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye! So to start off with your contouring and your highlighting, let's just take a minute.